Really? Really?
Really?
There you go.
And
Really?
that really Baines.
You should have replied with a very assertive really. Yes, really.
Yes, really. Really.
Hello and welcome to the Quackcast. This is Quackcast number 352. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Pitface. Hello. Hello.
I was going to try and say that one line for that. If I keep on forgetting it, and then if I do it, it's just going to be shambles. But I poked out at the last minute.
Is that because you get your kicks above the waistline, sunshine?
That's it.
I love it. I love it. We have Tanserine. Hello.
Hello.
And we have Mr. Baines. Hello.
Hello.
Dr. Baines, is it now? You have your doctorate in Bainesology.
Yeah, finally. Thank you. Yeah.
Jeez. I'm glad. How much did that set you back? 40,000? Oh,
yeah.
It's expensive. Those Bainesology degrees just...
But worth it.
I think
Bainesology.
40,000 is pretty good price these days for a
PhD.
doctor's degree.
Yeah. I just got the fake certificate and got my driver's license changed. So maybe a little overpriced, but...
He just took a little black magic marker and wrote doctor in front of his name and put a little doctor's hat and a monocle over his face in the picture.
I could have done it for $40. You're right. What am I doing?
It's just drawn it on. So in this Quackcast, we're going to be talking about three things. So firstly, I'm going to introduce the fact that we are having a little fundraising campaign again. I think this is the third one. And this is for the notifications. So instead of just randomly going through your bloody archive and searching for your bloody latest comments, which you'll probably never even know you have buried in there or wherever, you'll be able to look in your control panel and there'll be a whole list of the latest comments and replies to comments, and you'll be able to see them and go, aha, and communicate with these people right away, and it'll be all social and fun, and there'll be rainbows coming out our bums, and Drunk Doc will be such awesome. A great place again. So, yeah. That's what we talked about. We're also doing an amazing set of 2 plays by Tanserine, a professional scriptwriter. And, well, I'll go into professional scriptwriting after I introduce the feature and stuff like that. And then, finally, we may be talking about Cam's process of turning scripts, or turning comics into scripts, and he's going to tell us about that process. But first, before we do any of that, I'm going to introduce the featured comic, and Kawhi gave us that, and the featured comic was... Really?
Roy?
Take it away, Kawhi.
Hello, this is Koide Gakse, and the feature I have selected for this week is Really by Hangry Hermit, and it is rated E for everyone. Hangry Hermit's comic Really will take you inside the home of an Asian Canadian family where you can enjoy the day-to-day. This nuclear family is made up of a father, mother, and their 2 young daughters. It is a really family-friendly comic for all ages, with some cultural references sprinkled into the jokes, such as moths being ancestors and having to be a classical music prodigy in order to get an iPad. The art is purely digital. The colors are very vibrant and bold. Enjoy a comic that gives a clearer picture into the world of a Canadian family, and read Really by Hangry Hermit. Rated E.
And that was Quiet Daigakse with Really. Really?
That's actually, now that I realize that's like maybe the greatest title for a webcomic ever, now that we've gone through this process. I wish I called my webcomic that, truly. Actually, as the kids say now.
Perfect. All right, and after that we have the featured music, and this week Gumwallis has given us the music to Bram and Vlad.
By Strix Van Allen, is that right?
Exactly, Strix Van Allen.
Schnell!
Welcome to
you save that. You save that for what's coming.
That's right. You get your chance, Baines. You get your chance. Welcome to the mysterious, echoing notes of Celestial Funhouse. Then settle down to a demonic, yet friendly game of cards, accompanied by a jaunty, yet cheeky tune on the piano. Strix Van Allen's Bram and Vlad. Take it away, Gumwallis. And that was Bram and Vlad. Bram, it should be Bram, I think, like Bram Stoker. And
yes.
Vlad. I love that name, Vlad.
Yeah, Vladimir.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If I was Russian, I would be named Vladimir. I want to be reborn as Russian. That's so perfect. So that was the music. Strix Van Allen. I love it. So here we go. We're going to talk about the comment notification. So this is something everybody has been wanting for ages, to have comment notifications, like forever. Tance tells us that we used to have some kind of a feature for comment notification with the thing you installed, but I don't remember it being that great for comment. But maybe it did. Maybe it did comment. No, Tance, do you remember the little thing we used to have?
It was. I personally liked it. I remember it with great nostalgia. It was a little app that you downloaded separately, and it sat in your tray, and it would notify you when you had a new comment anywhere in your comic.
Okay.
And it would also notify you of updates of all the comics that you have favorited. When they updated, it would flash a little notification that so and so has just updated.
Oh.
And that's basically these two simple functions, but and it also had an account of all the
favorites.
Favorites, yeah.
Well, favorites.
These three things. The favorites for each of your comics.
Yeah. Which is basically what, I mean, the favorites thing, everybody knows how many favorites we have now, or likes at least. Likes and favorites. interchangeable. But yeah, it was a useful feature. So we're going to return to something like that, at least for comment notifications. And that will make the site a bit more social that way, I think, because it really helps interaction. If you know your comic has had a comment on it, then you can immediately go and see it. And if you know that your comment has had a reply, you can reply back and have a conversation instead of just a one-way thing. So, and
also it will be an incentive for commenters to comment throughout the comic, because they will know that their comment is going to be read, which is something that they are pretty certain it won't be unless it is on the final, the most recent update.
Yes.
And yeah.
Exactly. Although we'll be better than YouTube. YouTube shits me. I turn off all the notifications for all my comments on YouTube, so I don't get any now because I hate it.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't. Only a couple of people have ever debated me on YouTube, and then they stopped.
I tend to say really dumb things I don't say dumb things on YouTube because that would be like, no, I'm not that stupid. I say things on YouTube that get people to debate me, and I don't mean it, and I don't want them to debate me, so I just ignore it. Never get into debate.
The YouTube comment section is a dumpster fire.
Yes.
Yes.
But we won't go that way because we're comic makers and we're smart.
Precisely.
Yeah, we don't get engaged
and we're famous. And we're famous for our very supportive and cohesive community. So comments are always very welcome.
We'll be backslapping.
That's right.
So we need like $600 to raise for this. 500 of that goes to Alexi, our programmer, and the rest is fees and any charges and that kind of stuff and extra stuff that we need. So that fully transparent, that's what we have to earn. It's not very much really in the scheme of things, but we'll pay for our notifications, and Alexi is going to do that. And Alexi is fantastic. He's also going to do behind the scenes comment verification, stuff that doesn't matter to any of the normal users. Any of the normal DD members don't see this, but we get all these spam accounts signing up, and he's going to sort that out so there won't be any of that, and he's going to do it for free because he's also a Drunk Duck member. So he wants to do good stuff for the site because he says that there's basically no comic culture in Russia. They don't have this kind of same comic culture there. And since he's discovered Drunk Duck, he's discovered a whole new world, because in Russia there's just books or the mainstream comics, some of them, it's not really a real comic culture there like it is elsewhere. Yeah. So it's opened a new world to him. So thank you, Alexi, for doing that.
Yes, thank you so much. Amazing. Yeah. Very generous. We'll have to have him on sometime if he wants to.
Yes, we should. That would be lovely, and listen to the accent, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
So
an authentic one for a change.
Yes, a real Russian.
That's right, instead of a cartoonish version that we do.
Exactly. Vladimir. Okay.
I think they would be awed by Tanya's Russian lady accent and accept her as one of their own on the spot.
Yep.
They'll be thinking, oh my God, what are these probulator things? I want your probulator tongue.
But don't you all have probulators?
Oh God. So next up, we are going to do, so we need to earn that money, and that's going to be through an Indiegogo campaign that's already set up, and I'll have a link to that. So please consider contributing, and you can get all sorts of lovely perks like custom artwork, and you can be interviewed on the Quackcast. You can have your custom, like a featured news post about your comic, and all sorts of things, cameos in comics, fantastic work. Chance is offering to do work. We have Amelia P, who's known as Amelia Wu in the comic industry. She's a famous comic artist. She also does King's Club on Drunk Duck, and she's going to do you a custom piece as well. So, yeah.
Oh man, I was waiting to see if what kind of rewards were going to trickle in. So start buying them up.
Yeah, you're going to hoard them all.
Yeah.
But we're talking about an extra feature, which will be what we're doing now. So we're going to be doing reading out Tance's fantastic scripts for Without Moonlight and Brave Resistance, and we're thinking about a perk, which would be actually us. If you paid us, then we would turn your comic or part of it into a script that we would read out on the Quackcast. We would turn into a radio play for you. Custom, all done. You wouldn't have to do anything except pay for it. And there you go. We will give you a custom script. And without further ado, we should get into doing one of our scripts, shouldn't we? Give them Without Moonlight. All right. So, here we go, Without Moonlight.
I am the narrator to give you all the introduction to this. So the plot of Without Moonlight is that in 1942 Athens, Fotis and his bunch of flipper friends have stumbled across a wounded SOE agent that the Gestapo is looking for. He passes a very important microfilm to Fotis, who agrees to hide it and keep it secret. The Nazis eventually capture Fotis and try to make him reveal the location of the microfilm. In the meantime, the Greek resistance is aware of all this and, with Fotis captured, considers how to proceed, keep the microfilm's content from falling to the Nazis. So for this scene, there will be three characters. Basil Lokridis is a veteran of the Greco-Italian War and a former prosecutor. Basil is quite active in helping Fotis leap and steal provisions from German trucks, despite his maimed right arm. He is a slender man of medium height with scars on his face. He has managed to be competent in combat and vicious with his opponents despite being one-armed. Then we have Orestis Papadopoulos, leader of his area's resistance group and a former engineer. Orestis is very task-oriented and is very tough, almost harsh, when it comes to what must be done in order to serve the one and only purpose he says is worth it, overturning the Nazi regime and regaining control of Greece. He is a tall man with heavy eyebrows and an angular frame. And lastly, but not least, Martha Peony is a member of Orestis' resistance group, a former linguist and teacher. She is the group's best sniper and Orestis' second in command. She was engaged to Basil in the past, and Orestis admires her and seeks to gain her attention. So, let's begin the scene. In a small dining room in the resistance hideout, Orestis, Basil and Martha are discussing what to do with the situation now that Fotis, who is the only one who knows the secret of the microfilm's location, is in the hands of the Nazis.
What? You know where they're holding him, and you only tell us now? Time is of the essence. We got to go get Fotis before he cracks.
For his sake, I hope he cracks fast.
What?
I said, I hope he cracks fast, because we're not rescuing him.
What did you just say?
You heard me.
Orestes, how could we leave him there? Besides, didn't I tell you only he knows?
Yes, you told me. He'll crack and tell the Nazis, and then they'll go to retrieve it. We'll be there to take it back from them and avenge his death too, if it makes you feel better.
You're leaving him to the wolves?
I must.
You must? You must? And you call yourself a fighter for the Greeks?
Oh,
Remove your hand, Lucretus. My strategy is to beat the Nazis, not to cater to your sentimentalities and sacrifice my men on a suicide mission.
Fine way to win, leaving the Greeks to die just because you're too much of a coward to rescue them.
I said let go! What do you think this is, you baying wretch? You think this is a superhero story like those American kids read? This is war. I'm not here for little boys and kittens. I'm here to protect Greece. The one I'm here to win for is Greece. And do you know why? Because without Greece, Greeks are nothing. Just hay in the wind.
Cut the crap! You wouldn't be singing this tune if you were in Fotis's position. You hypocrite. It's because of assholes like you I never joined the resistance. I've had my fill of backstabbers in the front.
I'm the backstabber? You are! You backstabbed Greece when you refused to join due to your stupid paranoia. And yes, I'd sing the same tune if it was me on the slab.
Will you both stop? This helps nobody. We're both trying to solve the same problem.
No, I'm the one trying to save an entire nation.
Yeah, a country you'll have single-handedly helped empty of all her worthwhile people.
If you both don't put a cork in it, by God, I'll shoot you both in the mouth! Orestes, the plan is botched already. How can you be sure the Nazis will lead us to the microfilm? For all we know, they might know we're watching them. Like they know about Alec.
Martha.
You said you won't sacrifice your men for Fotis. I'm not your man. So hurry up and tell me everything you know about where they're keeping him. Now! I've wasted enough time! And here we go for play number 2. Brave Resistance.
In 1943, an American P-51 Mustang pilot crashes in the mountaintops of northern Greece. Technically, he's behind enemy lines since the Nazis occupy Greece. But is he really? By Tangerine and Pitface.
The characters in the scenes are Nikos Angelidis, an efficient but very sarcastic Greek doctor with little to no bedside manner. He is a short, petite man with a mouth on him. He is smarmy and full of irony and sarcasm, but usually his quips have no barb or poison. They might contain truth, though, and that can be uncomfortable. He is one hell of a doctor, so everyone tolerates the attitude.
Hunter Marshall, a tall, broad-shouldered, half-Iroquois American pilot. Generally mild-mannered and witty, the sole survivor of a rather unusually organized mission to bomb a railway in the Greek north. In his own calm fortitude, he gives as well as he takes in the banter with Nikos, and seems to be able to see through his facade eventually.
Ludger Achziger, the German SS major in charge of the occupied area where Hunter's plane crashed. He is a staunch, cold man with poise and self-control. His voice is always cold, emotionless. Even in contempt, he is cold and devoid of compassion or concern. Threat emanates from him.
Evelyn Hackett, Ludger's subordinate and second in command. A tall, dramatically obese man with a penchant for excess in every way, including his duties at the SS headquarters. He could sound silly and funny, but he's bad news, and it shows in his malice. Ludger is sitting in his office at headquarters, drinking whiskey and listening to the Tannenhauser Overture from the gramophone. He is waiting for the results of the mission to retrieve the surviving pilot, but most importantly, the prototype parts of the mechanism from the American Mustang fighter planes that crashed in the mountains.
Enter.
Heil Hitler!
Heil. I expect you have a report for me, Hackett.
Of course, Major Achziger. I oversaw proceedings myself, sending out 3 units to scout for...
Just the paper, please, Meister. I see here that while the mission to repulse the air raid was successful, your mission was a failure.
I assure you, Major, that it's no failure. As soon as we locate the plane...
Ah, you managed to miss the crash site as well?
It is just a matter of time, Major. You know how this mountainous area, it is simply too...
What I certainly do know, Meister, is that the Reich needs to account for all the enemy pilots that may have managed to survive the crash here. They are excellent bait for the guerrilla ruffians, and not to be lost, like a blind seamstress's spools. Do you understand?
I assure you, Major.
No assurances, Hackett. Results. I will simply need to ask the SS und Polizeführer to find you something more suitable to your assessed levels of competence. Would you like me to do that?
Of course not. Of course not. I assure you, my competence fits my position, Major. The pilot shall be found. The plane, too. Post haste, my Major. Post haste.
Meanwhile, Hunter is woken up by the ram nudging at his ear, and he jerks away from it, still semi-asleep. The rough movement makes him groan and release a swear word, and that brings in Nikos to check on him.
Well, look who's up. You don't want the overseeing doctor to check on your ear? You specifically asked for my supervisor the first time you woke.
He approaches, checking Hunter's bandages for any bleed-through.
Look, mister, I already apologized for mistaking you for an intern. I distinctly remember doing so.
You did you now? Are you sure you didn't just dream it? Because I don't quite remember that.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Let's see if we can sit up a little, shall we? There we go, all propped up. Now that you've remastered the developmental milestone of toddlers, while we wait for the pain to subside, let me fill you in on what I did to you to save your life.
Is it necessary?
You don't want to know what the matter is with your body?
I'd rather know who's telling me all this first.
Ah, like my qualifications? It should be enough that you're awake.
I was just going for your name.
Do you think it's safe? If we have to give you up to the Nazis for the village's safety, I don't want you ratting me out that I aided anyone who doesn't love Hitler to pieces.
Well, I'll just tell them it was the scrawny little yammering guy that did it all.
Finish up your concoction. If you don't drink it all, the analgesic will wear off in an hour or two. I'm Nikos. That's all you need to know. Hunter, right? Your name?
Yes.
So, Hunter, whether you like it or not, I got to tell you what's up, and what must happen if you are to survive this, and go back home, or the plane carrier I bet you came from.
I'm listening.
I will keep it simple. You got some shrapnel in your belly. 2 shots in your arm, 1 grazed your skull. I don't count the bruising and various welts. Now, you are one very, very lucky Yank.
Really?
Oh, yes. First off, you fell where I live. The other capable surgeon is some 5 or 6 hours away from where we are. You'd be dead by then.
Thank you.
And second off, because that wound that would really slow you down was relatively superficial. I stopped the internal bleeding easily from the 1 bit of iron that dug too deep. I should expect you to be just sore in a few days in that area.
So I can get up.
If you so much as budge from that cot, you won't have to worry about Nazis, because I'll kill you. I dare you to ruin my beautiful work on you. You'd think I'd do it again if you ruined it just because I can?
All right. I won't budge from the pen.
And now for a short reading from The Epic of Blitzov by Pitface.
The beauty is dead. We shall now put her in the ground. I wonder how deep the hole is.
I don't know.
I think I'll leave again now.
Now that the beauty is dead, there's nothing nice to look at. I like how she washed her hair the most.
But you're still hurt, aren't you?
It's just a walk.
You mean just to the hills, right? Or to the pumps?
I'm sick of those places. I go past them.
I don't think it's a good idea, Blitzov.
Well, I do, Blastov.
At least get Camel to go with you.
No, she doesn't like to search. She gets bored and annoying.
So, you are going to search. Stay here, Blitzov. You don't always need to go.
Stop worrying.
If you fall again now, you'll die. Someday you'll go too far. You won't come back. I'll be alone.
You would not be alone. You would have many friends. You have Camel. Besides, I will be fine.
Promise you will stay away from the mountain. Please, Blitzov. I do not like death. You're bored. Take up with the guard.
No one attacks us.
Please. The beauty is in the pit. Mother and father are in the pit.
It will be fine, Blastov.
I cannot stand to put you in there too.
Okay, Blastov. I'll only go to the pumps. My skin, it feels too tight. That was The Epic of Blitzov, a comic by Pitface. Next up we have Bottomless Waitress by Ozone, Ocean and Baines. It's early morning. Craig is just coming into work. Ah, Janie.
Why is the door open? Ha! Craig Ronaldo! How dare you bust in on a naked woman? What would your mother say?
What? I didn't. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll go.
You stay right there. I need you to guard the door while I get dressed.
Yes, ma'am.
Craig?
Yes, ma'am.
If you call me ma'am one more time, I will strangle you with this towel. Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Pitts, I meant to tell you, thanks for getting me this job.
No sweat, kiddo. Your mom and I are old friends. Of course, I recommended you before I knew you were a peeping Tom.
What? I'm not.
Honestly, Craig, I'm more than twice your age, you little peeper.
It was an accident. I swear.
Craig?
Huh?
I'm teasing you. Relax. Spread out your arm.
Oh? What?
You're my clothesline.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, Miss Pitts.
Okay, so this is a page from Typical Strange from a couple of years ago. There's been a whole series of events that have led the TK's gotten sort of involved in the case that this secret agent has. Secret agent is a midget. TK feels like he's bonding with this guy, and he calls the guy Poopington. Long story, but he calls this dude Poopington. Poopington is pursuing these criminals who are running into the doorway off of a rooftop. TK is tied to a chair on the rooftop, and the chair's fallen backwards, so he's sort of suspended out in midair, and the chair is wedged in the rooftop.
So that's where the scene starts. Oscar will come in about halfway through from a window a couple floors below TK. So we start with Poopington firing at the criminals and then pursuing them. And as a director, I'll say, have fun with it.
Freeze! Damn it. Kid, you still there?
I think I heard a helicopter.
I got a line, kid. I'll send help.
I don't know how much longer it's gonna hold. Poopington, you still there?
TK? Is that you?
What are you doing here?
This is Christiana's apartment. I came to declare my intentions. What happened to you?
I think the chair's caught in some rebar wires or something.
That doesn't answer many of my questions. I heard gunshots. At first I thought it was from the street.
Fascinating story. You wanted to get up here before I fall, dummy?
Right. On my way.
All right. This is a page of Pinky TA, and what happens is the tank that Pinky was driving, well, the whole team was driving, crashed into a dune because of Pinky's impulsiveness and her stupid aggression. And now Pinky and Betty are in the tank trying to get the radio to work so they can get some help. Scene.
I can't get it to work. Betty, you should really lay off the garlic catsup sausage. Seriously. I'm choking to death here.
Pinky, shush.
It's bad enough in here without your revolting breath in my face. Wait, I'm getting an idea.
One more remark, I'll make it really bad in here for you.
Our tracks.
Huh? They don't even touch the ground.
Not the ones from the tank, you fool. The ones we left behind.
Oh, we can follow them to where we left the others and then follow their tracks.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant, Pinky. We don't need the radio after all. Not that you'd have the first clue about it anyway, you stupid moron. And if you'd have been commanding properly, we wouldn't be lost in the first place. Not to mention the crash being all your fault.
What was that?
Oops. You weren't meant to hear.
Let's just get out of here. Now.
Okay, now, finally, we have this little bit from Cam, who is Keith Allen Morgan, known to us as Cam, and he does his beautiful Camex. He's given us this little bit of a text describing the process he went through to turn his comic into a script. So here we are.
So, adapting a comic to radio by Keith Allen Morgan. Converting a story from comic to radio play was interesting. It had to be a story rather than one of gags. It couldn't be too long, couldn't be something that might tick people off, couldn't be too visual, and just 4 people would be performing it, all of which cut down on the number of stories I had to pick from. The story I went with had a number of problems I had to overcome. The comic version was 14 pages, with a number of scene changes, too many characters, and a number of jokes were dependent on visual information. So I started pruning as well as considering how to describe things that were important, but couldn't be seen, like the comics that Rosemary is competing against, which were drawn in the original story. That's also why I decided to add a narrator to the story to set scenes and deal with scene shifts and time jumps. I also realized I had to think about sounds, which is not usually something I consider for a comic, since you don't hear it. The finished script wasn't perfect. I was worried it was still too long and some scene changes weren't as smooth as I would have liked. If I'd had another 2 weeks, it probably would be shorter with smoother transitions. Ah, well. Still, it was an interesting experiment and exercised some writing tricks that I don't usually dabble in. And that's it.
Interesting insight into the process.
Yeah.
Turning a written comic into a real script. So what we've just done is we've experimented with turning our own comics into a radio play just by reading it out straight out, which sort of works, but it doesn't really. It's a bit more clumsy. What did you guys think of that?
Well, for mine, I think what Cam said makes a lot more sense than just kind of what I did, which is frantically going through pages to find something that might work.
Yeah.
Definitely, you got to think about how different an audio play is from a comic. It's pretty much different in every way. So,
yeah, it's almost an antithesis, almost.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of the visual timelessness, you have like the audio, just audio, no visual, and it's sort of obviously has a time to it because it's the way the actors perform it. Like,
that's a good point. It's really hard. I mean, I found when I was putting sound effects to these things, it's really hard to create an audio version of the visual landscape. What I mean is to really set the scene in an environment that you can believe the characters are existing in, you know, like with the lawnmower sounds and birds and stuff like that. So, okay, they're in a suburbs here. How do I give people that impression? It's damn tricky.
Yeah. I have to say, when making the scripts for Brave Resistance and Without Moonlight, I had to pick scenes where the dialogue is really intense and not very contingent on visual cues. Like you can follow it easily and create a mental image without needing too much direction on what the characters are doing. Yeah. But even then, I had to change some of the words, like the lines that they were saying, to incorporate things that normally would be of the comic. Like, for example, yes, we are now all propped up and everything, which isn't. I added this so that I wouldn't have to have a narrator say that now Hunter is being propped up by Nikos and blah, blah, blah. But still, I think you need a narrator either way.
You do have to include that kind of descriptive dialogue, don't you? Or I've heard spoofs when they've done, spoof radio plays, and people say, now I am standing near the back door of the house. And now I am following you because I am angry and I want to hit you and I have a frown on my face.
I am saying this in not with aggression. I am very aggressively advancing towards you.
I am fearfully backing away. I am shaking and shivering.
That was another difference, though, from reading out the actual scripts and taking the directions, so to say, from the panels that we were looking at from when we were actually reading out the comics, because when you're reading out the script parts, you kind of have to pause for a second, and there's this, at least for me anyway, there's this feeling of kind of like, all right, don't take too long, just sit there and thinking about this, it says it's this emotion, so what's this going to be like, and sometimes you internalize it a little too much. But when you're reading it straight from the panel like we did, and probably a bit obviously, and maybe also due to, if the panel is drawn well enough and conveys enough emotion, I should say, then it becomes a little bit more intrinsic, the way you sound while you're reading it.
Yeah.
Because what your eyes see is naturally transferring to your brain, that the character is feeling that way automatically. So that was kind of neat to see the differences with that. But then the other end of that is, it's perhaps you're also leaving things much more up to interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're relying simply on the visual aspect instead of words.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I found that very much so when I was reading out Blitzov. Totally just looking at that, you can imagine how the character should sound and be. But then when I came to my version of TK in Typical Strange, I was handicapped by the fact that he just doesn't exist for a few panels. He has a massive archive of existence, and I know how he sort of is. And I couldn't reconcile that with how he was in that situation, because he was a bigger character for me than what he just appeared there. So I couldn't really encompass TK and then portray that TK in that situation. It was just beyond me.
It's true.
Yeah.
That was sort of an unusual situation for him to be in, and almost out of character.
Yeah.
Scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not typical TK in Typical Strange.
Not at all. Yeah, that's true.
You have to be able to portray him first in order to portray him as an unusual sort of character. But Pitt sort of might have came to that with a bit less of that kind of handicap that I had, and just went straight for it and did it without worrying too much. So I was second guessing way too much for that to work.
Right.
That's easy to do, and I think even when you do have the written out directions, it's still easy to kind of do that, unless you read the lines over and over and over again, really internalize what this character is like. It's kind of easy to fall into that trap a little bit, and not a trap, but you're just not as familiar with the character.
Block.
Yeah,
I'll say with Nikos, I wasn't really sure about how to portray him because I'd never really thought about it, but I just went for it, and the more I did it, the more natural it seemed. And Ludger, I'd never done that before either, and that was so natural. It was so easy to do.
you man, it was so good. Both of you guys, man, I couldn't believe it. And I know a touch of it is like, all right, well, yeah, you put on almost a cartoony accent and then act and stuff. But it was more than just that. You guys, I don't know, you guys just, you guys got this thing going on in real life. I mean, we're not touching on something here, are you? I mean,
it's pretty similar.
Really
I'm
good.
very afraid of Oz and his how he's judging me and going to take everything away that I've worked for. No,
boy, but you guys, I'd say that one, and I mean, all the scripts came out pretty cool, but also the way you guys read Blitz Off and Blast Off and Camel as well, just especially the back and forth between you two, Oz and Baines. Maybe it's just because it's my comic and I was squeeing way too hard, but you guys, I mean, I could tell that you were reading directly from the visual cues in the way that the dialogue was written out, because the things that I had in bold, you put emphasis on, and you made it sound supernatural between those two, or I mean, at least how I really imagined it. And that was just, I couldn't believe it, man.
Well,
that's good to hear.
Baines was the star there again, I think, because he had that nervous, neediness about Blastov that he really had to have, and I love that because you feel for that character so much. I think poor guy, he's just so
it was
alone.
well written and also getting to look at the visual of the emotion on his face, and as he's following Blitz off, I sort of moved a little bit in my chair, sort of get the sense of moving. But I got teary eyed reading the stuff, and you get so into him emotionally. And
cry.
You did a little bit. Yeah, I got a little.
Oh, that's awesome! You made Blastov cry technically. But I mean that touches on another kind of important point too, doesn't it? You also play off of the other people reading the script big time, I think.
Yeah.
And so once you get that flow going, like initially, I think you both kind of try to find your places, your characters and stuff like that. But sometimes, man, like if it just gets going, like you don't really need to read those character cues too much. I mean, you should, but like you almost just naturally just don't, because you just feel the way that your voice should be going.
If it's written well, it does. If it like emotionally makes sense, which the stuff you guys wrote really did. Like it's sort of, you get it. You can see where this dude's coming from. You see where that dude's coming from. It makes sense. And I mean, a lot of that I was just able to just read the stuff kind of as written and react to Oz.
I have to say that
great.
I really liked how you voiced Orestes, and in the beginning, how
that was the hardest
how
one.
he gets progressively angry, and he's like holding himself back from sucking Basil in the teeth or something.
I love doing Basil in that as well. Jeez, I love that anger. Orestes, how could you betray us like this? He's one of our own. How could you do this? And he just, wants to rip Orestes' coat off, just grab him by the neck and shake him.
That really came across, and I liked how the way that Pitface voiced Martha, she just shoves in there and ends it all, and she said, both of you fucking stop it, because you of course are going nowhere.
Shoot you all in the mouth. I love it.
Yeah.
That was a good line. There's a few good lines. My favourite lines are like, I'll shoot you all in the mouth, garlic catchit sausage. Those two my favourites. I love the way you guys read out that Pinky and the Betty scene. That was just...
That was good.
It was a little cathartic towards the end. It was nice.
Yeah. And I have to add another thing, that I like how you said that you won't have to worry about Nazis anymore, because I'll kill you with all that smile, that threatening smile in your voice. You're gonna die anyway, dude.
That was all so, if she hadn't suggested that, I wouldn't have done that. So
yeah.
Because I was originally that's threatening rather than the funny one, that's the way it worked.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we do too, is we give each other direction. I don't think too much. I don't think we do it too much, because you still have to let people. But if it seems like the other person is kind of missing the mark a little bit, or trying to figure out how the line should sound, we also kind of help suggest ways to say it, or because that's another thing is with a lot of these scripts. I mean, this wasn't the case tonight, obviously, because we're all right here, but other times, when we've read the scripts, the creators haven't been there to give us more, if we needed more direction stuff, or all right, how should this character sound? So we kind of have to figure it out ourselves, and we form a little committee and stuff. So
yeah, last week we had that when I said some lines and Baines was there to say, okay, no, you should say it this way, and I said, whatever, and did it that way, and it worked. And when I was editing it, I thought, damn you, Baines, you are bloody right. Deleted the
right, bloody right, for the bloody right to say.
Baines!
And I have to say that now I have Hackett's voice and Ludger's voices are now going to be yours, guys. I will always... they will always sound like this in my mind.
I love doing them.
I think...
I'll go on.
No, I was just going to say that the cool thing, I think that they already sounded so much like them. I don't have a change. They've just kind of melded into one.
Yeah.
I love that. Further to what I was saying before with Baines being right, and that I've learned one thing that's very important in the Quackcast is never think I never think that I am right on something. When you guys suggest something, I always think, okay, play down the instinct of, I'm right and you guys are wrong. You guys are probably right, and that usually proves true. So always, that's something to follow. If someone's suggesting something, don't just poo-poo it and think, oh, no, my way's better. Actually follow through, because later on, when you listen back to it, you'll find they're right. So.
Yeah.
Very humble thing to do as well.
It's useful too, because you can't really hear yourself how it sounds as
That's
a
right,
external thing, but they can, or you can. So it's listen and then go back. And
that is definitely the thing that's nerve-wracking about it, about the acting part, which I find the funnest part is the acting. At least the part I've done, really. But it's like, you sort of don't know how it's coming across, like as an amateur, as not a pro actor or anything like that. It's like, is this working? Is this like coming through or making sense, or am I way off?
If it really doesn't seem to work, if you really can't get it, then get someone else. That's what I did with TK. I could not get it. I said, no.
I didn't know how to direct it. Thankfully, Pitface did a little directing on that one, because I didn't really know what to say. So.
Yeah, same with me. I'm not very good at doing that. But...
Well, and even after some of the parts tonight, like I felt that some of them, after the fact, I could have put a little bit more uniqueness or thought or effort into some of the lines and stuff like that. So if I went back and did some of these lines, they could end up being totally different from how they ended up here,
no.
or sometimes even.
It's all perfect.
Yeah, that's why they say. That's why they say that you can never, you can never have the same performance when you are performing in theater, because every time you get a slightly different interpretation as the actor feels at a particular moment, or what he or she wants to get across.
Yeah.
So I think the same holds for when you are thinking in retrospect, okay, I should have maybe done this a little bit differently or that a little bit differently. You would get different, but same quality level performances is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's a good point. It's a fun project to do, and I want to do more of it.
Yes.
Definitely. Even if it takes me all year to edit, I don't care. I want to do it. With that, probably better finish up then.
Yeah, we gotta bury you before you start to stink, man.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I need to take my place in the pit.
Yeah, put him in the ground. Beauty and mom and dad.
And Beauty.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, guys, for being on the Quackcast. It was fantastic.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you for being a friend.
All right. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.